Hey, what's up? I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. This is part 50 of my rideshare experience videos. Thanks for coming back once again, checking it out with me. So before you go any farther, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I need to get my subscriber count up to 1,000 so I can start making money again off of the YouTube channel. So thanks a lot for doing that. Also, if you want to help support this whole process, not only by subscribing, I restarted my Patreon page, patreon.com/thezim. If you like the videos I'm making, kick down $1 or more on my Patreon account. Link will be in the description. Thanks a lot for doing that. If you're digging on what I'm trying to create with my channel, awesome. And more. You can learn more about me and all that other stuff on my Patreon. Here we go. Intro. I'm a Zim, like I said, artist musician from Seattle, Washington. Currently living in San Diego, and I use Lyft as my primary source of income while I'm living life, trying to build my dreams. I'm going back to grad school soon. Next year. I'm learning more about it. I'll be posting more videos about it on this channel as time goes on, so keep up to date. And did you hear that snap? That was a pretty good snap, wasn't it? I figured it out, I think. Anyways, I think I figured out why I can snap better. Again, shout outs. So I like to shout out to everybody so I go shout outs, I go how much I made, I go star rating, and I go main topic, which is, we're talking about tips today. And over on the side right there, there's three boxes that say what part of the video. So if you want to jump ahead to any part of the video, just scroll the timeline or go click the timestamp in the description on the desktop version, and you can jump ahead to tips or whatever I might be talking about. So there's that. So let's start off with shout-outs. Shout-outs are people like you who have commented newly to the channel since the last time. So these are just new people that have commented, given their 2 cents. Diana Muaz, she's my cousin. Thanks, cuz. David, all the rideshare videos, not on the other videos, but only on the rideshare videos are the ones, because that's the only place I really get comments. But anyways, David Williams, O. Diaz, Savage Scientist. So Savage Scientist is another rideshare driver. He linked up one of his videos. He's pretty crazy, so check it out if you want to hear a different take on this whole rideshare thing. Go ahead and check out Savage Scientist. And KB8SD. And then Bruce Collins. Thank you all for engaging with the channel, commenting. Comments are my oxygen, so I love it when you comment, so do it up. Alright, let's get into how much I made. So this week, how much I made deposited in my account was $803.70. And I made $8 in cash tips, so my heads up display will say $8 more. $813.70. And so that's that. And I did 115 rides this week. I got $117 in tips plus 8 for cash, so 125 total in cash tips. So that's that. Let's look at that's kind of the big breakdown right there. Boom. Let's go into the daily breakdown. And I got it was great. So this week could have possibly been my best week ever, and not in terms of how much I made, but in terms of how long it took to make it. It took me less than 39 hours, like 38 hours and 52 minutes. It was pretty awesome. And then so that's how much I made. Like each day I made almost 152 days, and then like 170, 180, somewhere around this. So pretty good days. Tipping was great. I had a couple pretty good streak bonuses from Lyft. They gave me a 5 streak bonus. If 5 rides, I got $25 if I got 5 rides in a row, one time, and then $10 if I got 5 rides in a row another time. So that's a total of $30 kind of extra, which was great. It's awesome. Thanks Lyft for doing that. And this week was a good tipping week for me, so that was good. So let's get into the hourly breakdown. This is where I drove per hour. So this is the peak time chart. Starting the next time I do this peak time chart will look slightly different where the lightning bolts are. Lyft, you probably got it. Maybe you got to notice, but in San Diego they've changed where the peak time bonuses happen now. Peak time rides happen. So just to talk about something. That's where I drove. Like I said, like my goal, goal I guess is to go for 24 rides a day. That seems to be works out for me, so that when Sunday comes around, and I can plan out my day on Sunday. I go like, okay, this week I managed to get all my peak time rides done before Sunday. So Sunday was all about just getting rides in to finish off the week for me. And then, so I can make this, so I got my 110, and then I can decide how much more after that to work versus how much I'm making. Because I always like to make 800 or more. So by like Sunday afternoon, it was like 3 o'clock, or yeah, around 3 o'clock, I managed to get my $800 deposit amount that I like to get. And I was like, if I stay out longer, the average is like, I don't know what, about $7 a ride, 2 rides an hour. It's like, I know the average is kind of like, it takes a while to make money at this job. So is it worth it to stay out just to make another 30, 40, 50 bucks? Or should I just cut it now and go home and do something with my family, which is what I did. I went and saw Jumanji, which was a super fun movie. I highly recommend it. Anyways, that's that. So that's kind of what happened in terms of the hourly breakdown, how the week worked. Great week with hours spent doing this. And then worked out to about 20, I think it was like $21, somewhere around that. 20 to $22 an hour is what I averaged for this week. I mean, you could do the math yourself. You can scroll back and do it if you want. Which is, that's pretty good. $20 an hour for this job. That's reasonable. If I could make $20 an hour every moment I was in the car doing this job, I'd probably be happy. Happier than I am now. So yeah, it felt good, and sometimes I get comments like, "Oh, if it's good, you should stay out," kind of idea, and it's like, this is sustainable. This was good and sustainable. If it's good and you stay out, you run the risk of just burning yourself out again. So right now I'm of the philosophy of, when it's good, work to what your goals are. Don't try to go crazy. I mean, you can if you want, but I need to just go, okay, I made my goals, I'm good, let me go and spend time with my family, let me go and do something for myself, rather than just doing more driving. This week was a very sustainable week for me, but this is the way it could be more often. If I made $800 for 40 hours of work every week, I would feel pretty good for what I need right now in life. Hey, look, I'm wearing my uniform. This is what I wear when I drive. I'm driving today. I'm just doing this on my break. Anyways, I wear the same thing every week. Hat. Sometimes with a hat, sometimes without. Anyways, so there's that. So let's get into ratings. There's not much to talk about ratings this week because they're not giving the star rating, the emails anymore, as we've discovered. And so what I've been emailing back and forth with Lyft. So somewhere on the screen, I'll leave it hang out on the screen, is the latest email. So I emailed them and said, hey, I really enjoyed the star rating. I want to see the star rating, the second decimal point. Where can I find? Are you going to be giving us the second decimal point somewhere? And they give it to you somewhere on the screen. You'll also see the weekly reviews, where on the bottom section of it they have the how you rate compared to other people kind of thing. And that's last week. At that time, I was at a 4.98, and then the average is like 4.8 or whatever they have on there. But so that's the only place I know you currently get the second decimal point. But as you see in the email I have on the screen, or eventually have on the screen, the person was like, check your dashboard is where you'll get the second decimal point. And I've personally never seen the second decimal point anywhere on the dashboard. So if you know, let me know. I emailed them back again. I don't think this support person kind of knows what they're talking about. But anyways, so that's just what's up right now for the next maybe couple weeks. While I'm talking about the star ratings, we'll be talking about what Lyft is doing in terms of star ratings, about that instead of what I'm actually making. I just put in my heads-up display. I'm just going to put my app rating for now on. It's 4.9 right now. Dropped down at one point last week, just a little bit. But yeah, so 4.9 app rating. I don't know what my second decimal point is currently right now, but there we go. So let's talk about tips, all right? So basically, the bottom line is, I know most of you that are watching this are probably drivers or aspiring drivers. There's not many like passengers that are like, oh, let me see what's going on in the world of Zim and his rideshare driving. But this is more for the passengers, and it's just a conversation. We can have a conversation. Maybe you can tell me about your experience with tips and whatnot, and how you seem to get them more or not, or feel like you should, or whatever. But the bottom line for me is, I believe we have to, retrain society in a way to understand that tipping in rideshare driving is important. I feel like this is my take on it, and let me, give me your take on it as well. But my take on it is when Uber started, right? From my understanding, Uber told people that tipping was included already, so don't tip, kind of. So that one thing trained kind of people to think, and Uber is still a big gun of this industry. More people know about Uber. Uber is the Kleenex of rideshare driving, right? Everybody calls Lyft drivers Uber drivers. Uber is a thing. So there's that psyche going on. There's people thinking that tipping was included for a while, even though now Uber has changed it so you can tip on their app like you could with Lyft. So you got that going on. But then you also have, I believe, this idea of this is the cheap way to get somewhere. Cheaper. This is cheaper than taxis. This is cheap. This is cheap. This is an inexpensive way. And so most passengers, I think, feel like, what is the least impact to my pocketbook? They look for the line rides or the non-surge rides or the non-peak time rides or whatever. They want to go get from point A to point B as cheaply as possible. So they're not really thinking, oh, and now I want to add another dollar or two on top of this psychology I have in my brain. They're not saying like, oh, it's cheap already, let me kick down a dollar or two for the driver. They're not thinking that. They're thinking like, let me just get from point A to point B with the least impact on my pocketbook, which I think happens a lot. And the way since I'm a day driver a lot of my drives are daily commuters, students, things like that, people that are using the service pretty often, so they also probably even double that idea of like, oh, if I'm using this every day or pretty often, if I keep tipping, that'll just make my travel expense, my commuting expense even more. So they're in their mind, they're saying like, what can I do to alleviate that expense? What can I keep my pocketbook expense down? So there's that. There's those kind of things. And at the same time, I think it's important for everybody to realize, in general, at least for me, I don't know, maybe for you, maybe it's crazy different for you, but for me, we don't make enough off the base amounts to sustain us. Tipping makes this job sustainable. If without tips, this job is not sustainable. So I broke down, I'm not sure what it'll look like. Maybe I'll just put a big old chart right there on the screen. From the beginning of 2018 till now, 8 weeks of driving, I put how much I made per week, how much tips I made per week, and then what it would look like without tips. Something like that. So in the total, so I'm just going to run out some numbers. So the total I made for 8 weeks was $5,000 without tips. So with tips was $6,482.26, which worked out to, I did 363 hours of driving, app hours. So that worked out to about $17.83 was my hourly rate with tips. That was with tips. And that's before gas, that's before taxes, that's before a lot of expenses. So that's not a lot. Without tips, my hour, if I didn't make any tips, I would have made $5,637.26, and it worked out to about $15.50 without tips. So that, again, that's before gas, before taxes, before all that stuff. And you may think, oh, that's not so bad, right? Well, maybe not if you're a high school student, but high school students can't do this job. If you're like somebody like, you're starting out in life, maybe it's okay, you're still living at your mom's. I don't know, you have your overheads really low, that may be adequate, but for someone like me that has a family and other things, that $15.50 would not cut it, and the $17.83 is right on that border. I'm fortunate right now that I live with family right now, and my family helps me make sure that my lifestyle, my house keeps running, and some of that has to do with money, making sure money, but also helps me with not having to put my kids in daycare and things like that when I'm not around. So, without that support, it would be a lot harder to make it on this $17.83. And so the average, I forgot to put the average of how many hours per week it was, but it was 363 total for the 8 weeks. You can do your own math on that if you want. So I don't know. So basically, I'm just giving you a look. I don't know what happened. Maybe I changed the numbers up as I was talking, but that's kind of a look at what it's like without tips. So I would wish, my hope is that the platforms themselves can start training passengers a little better on the importance of tipping. And of course, they probably don't want to say, hey, don't forget to tip your drivers, because then it makes it look like, what, aren't you paying them well enough already? I don't know, are they? And so it's a kind of gray area, because for me personally, I'm going to get very personal with you right now for a moment. For me, when I saw like the roundup and tip videos and the amount of energy that they put into just kind of everything but the support of the drivers, they put a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of effort into the different videos of what they're talking about, everything but like, how can you support the drivers more? And it's like, if they put the same kind of energy into teaching the passengers on the importance of tipping, that would go a long way. I remember when they asked us, if you're a driver, they asked us about the amp, and they were saying they're going to have new displays happening on the amp, and right now they're doing the timer for how long it's taking you to get to the next place, and they think they had stuff for like, maybe they had a Happy New Year thing, I don't remember, but they've changed the words on the back of the amp. And when they asked me, the thing I said would be great if on that, right toward the end of the ride or in the middle and toward the end of the ride, it said, don't forget to tip your driver, or something of that effect would be a great thing. Even if your driver was good, tip your driver. I don't know how they would phrase it, but that would be pretty awesome to bring that up without us as drivers, because it's pretty, I refuse, I don't even like talking about tipping in the car. When I have a passenger and we're on a drive and the conversation about the job comes up, and I know it's leading toward the idea of tipping, oftentimes I'll stop myself before I even mention it, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to guilt my passenger into tipping me. That's not my agenda, that's not what I want, so I don't even bring it up. I know some drivers put signs in their cars for don't forget to tip and all this stuff. I don't do that. I just try to provide the best service, because the app, the app on the phone does prompt them to leave a tip if they want, if a passenger wants. And I think that's good enough for that part of it. But the training of the importance of it is what we need to raise up. Like, the tip makes the difference. Like, if every ride gave us $1 in tip, that would be the difference. And I did one thing I forgot to mention. I'll put it on the screen as well. So as of last week's ride, I did 115 rides. I counted up all the rides that gave me a tip, and it turned out it was 48 of the 115 rides gave a tip, left a tip, and so that's 41%, basically 41.7% of rides. So less than half of the rides that I got last week left a tip, which is, interesting to me. So, luckily last week, I personally passed my personal goal of getting more tip money than rides I made, like $1, at least $1, because some of the people that left a tip left good tips. So, but imagine if everybody left a tip. Imagine if that still happened, and that percentage was more than 70% or 80% of people that had a ride. And maybe you do get that kind of percent. Maybe you do get more people tipping because of the times that you drive and different things like that. But anyways, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, so feel free to add your comments, because your comments are what make it happen for sure. I would love to hear your, how your relationship with tipping and passengers, and what you feel. Do you feel like you get enough tips? Do you feel like you would love to get more tips? I suppose we all love to get more tips, but let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you found this video because you want to become a driver, use my referral code ZIM200, and you and I could both make a bonus. Right now in San Diego, it's like $175. Varies depending on your area, and they changed up how you receive the bonus. I think for a while it was you had to complete a bunch of rides. Like, you had to complete the entire amount of rides, then you got a chunk bonus. Then for a while they were doing every single ride you gave you like a mini bonus, like a $2 bonus based on the amount that you were getting offered. And now we're about to run out of time. So, and now it's every 25 rides you get $25, And also I'm on at Rideshare Exp, Instagram. Check it out. Yo, this is it. Peace. Be good to each other. May your rides be long and your tips be good. May your rides be long and tips be good. Alright, peace. Peace.